Hi loves, welcome back. We are going to talk about how colonization has impacted Black Americans in the US and West Africans. If you want to know what those factors are and why that is, then keep on watching.
Colonization has made an impact in both West Africa and in our own households. We can only talk from our standpoint. I know a lot of people can relate to that within our demographic, but what we're trying to just jump into is how colonization has set a certain standard. There's a certain way of doing things, and even in the African American culture as well, beyond the diaspora, the people that have come that are first generations here, a lot of colonization has made an impact all over the world, I'd even say, and just trying to get that perspective on like how that sort of came about. So certain standards, like even when it comes to beauty standards, what are social norms, how we comport ourselves, like how we're exposed to the world in a way, how we kind of express our own thoughts, feelings, and ideologies, and what we kind of believe in, even goes as far as religion and our own beliefs. And in a way, our culture, our true root culture, sort of gets lost, and it gets muffled in all of that.
Yeah.
So, especially in the Western Hemisphere. So when we look into like colonization and how it's made that impact, it really just makes us take a look. And there's some takeaways from it. If you have any takeaways from it, just kind of let us know in that.
Yeah, leave that in the comments. We definitely want to hear both perspectives and both sides of colonization and what you believed was to be true and then you found out it wasn't true. Like, let us know so we can, it's like an open forum that we want this topic to become, because we want people on both sides to explain to us how it impacted you personally in your everyday lives.
Yeah.
As far as being a first generation Nigerian American, I really feel like I had a one-way sided viewpoint on how Americans and Black Americans were in this country. And I'm not saying that that is right. I'm saying is that's how I grew up. And living here, being an adult and learning things from both sides of West African culture and American culture, I realized that we have actually more in similar, similarities than we are, different. We have a lot in common. And I just think it's just another twisted way of how we perceive each other, and other races too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone it's like the colonization is almost like a standard everyone should meet, and it kind of dilutes, and the further your culture is away from that certain standard and that certain model that they've kind of sort of created within our society, like the more tribal or the more like what's the word? The more
divisive?
primal, more primal you are, the more behind you are in society. Where that could be the furthest from the truth. There's just a certain code, it's a certain code that you must adhere to. The way you talk, the way you express yourself, the way you dress. It's just your culture sort of gets diluted once it's immersed within the Western culture in a way.
It's crazy that you bring that up, because I'm always referring to like TikTok and Instagram, but I remember watching this first generation African American Nigerian American, and she said that she's afraid that all the Nigerians that have moved to the US or the UK or wherever you are we're slowly erasing our culture, because we're so embedded into where we live now and the culture that we see every day in front of our faces, that we're literally erasing our culture like day by day by not learning the language, by not cooking the foods, by not wearing the clothes. Like it slowly starts to dissolve basically. And it's very disheartening to hear that, because it's like there was a time where our parents were so eager for us to wear the clothes, for us to eat the food, to have us, you know, speak the language and learn the language, and then
but in
we
our
were so
generation,
against it.
yeah, it wasn't cool. It's like,
wasn't
man,
cool.
we want to fit in. Like we're in a society where we need to fit in,
Yeah.
and fit the mold, and like
And look at
that's
us
kind of
now.
wrong. But we're like more like as an aware adult, you know, as you grow and you start to mature a little bit, and if you see the world and stop seeking that validation from people that don't really understand where you're coming from, you know, and you're trying to fit into societal norms. It is getting better.
It's getting better.
I'm gonna say it is. Things are getting better.
It is
but
getting better.
in a way like that, it's getting worse as well. You know, and to say it's getting worse, I don't mean it as in there's a lot more. Like I said, there's a lot more awareness with these topics. We have a lot of more resources at our fingertips, but it's just the way that information is sort of being disseminated, and like a lot of our Afrobeat artists, you know, I think you're going to be diving into that a little bit later.
I will.
Like our Afrobeat artists are sort of kind of like trying to adapt to this westernized culture, which is diluting it a little bit. Yes, we have collaborations, which are great. We want to be on a world stage, but we don't want to lose that foundation, which made us so great, you know? Because that's the essence, you know what I mean? Because you're gonna lose that flavor, you know? You don't want to lose that flavor when you're in society. You want to still you want to lose your identity, you know?
Yeah.
That's the core of our identity,
Yeah.
and it's going to be diluted if, you know, it's not sort of, you know, addressed.
I feel like the first video that we had a little bit of pushback from, you know, other Black Americans, but we want to make it known that we are Black Americans. At the end of the day,
we are.
Our lineage is just a little bit, I guess,
at the end of the day,
I don't know, longer.
At the end of the day, when the outside looking in, we have to look at things from a perspective.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, okay, I don't want to be so kind of harsh with it, but like, okay, if you get pulled over on the side of the road and you fit a certain description, nobody cares if you're
Jamaican, or,
Haitian.
yeah, nobody
They don't care if
cares.
you're from Barbados. You know what I
Nobody
mean? They don't
cares.
care if you're African, Nigerian, Liberian,
They don't
whatever.
care.
They don't care. You're just a black man in a, like, you know, you're gonna be targeted. You're in that group. Not saying like it's. That's not the point of the topic. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, racism and like a lot of this happens. It happens across all cultures. We can only talk for our own, but we're all black at the end
We're
of
all
the day.
Black at the end of the day.
You know,
We're all Black at the end of the day.
nobody's gonna look into the nitty gritty of things. You still fit under a certain
Yeah.
criteria. You know, but
Yeah.
but what we're trying to get at is, yes, you should look into who you really are, your true identity. You know what I mean? You know, that's kind of like the way. That's what I want to jump into. Like, colonialism has put you in a certain category,
Box.
and it doesn't let you truly express who we are, because it's way more intricate than what is put on a list. Like when even when you're applying for a job, you just check under a box. Many of us only check under one box that says African American. I mean,
Or
African American or
Black.
black. You know what I mean? We're more than just a color. I'm not gonna base it down to that, because there's culture behind it. You know, as like for same thing with white people. The more the Caucasian, there's a lot of Eurocentric. You know what I mean? You're not just based around that. You know?
Yeah.
But what I want to employ you to do is to embrace our culture. America is a melting pot at the end of the day.
It is.
For us, it's a melting pot.
It is. I don't know if this is really pertaining to colonization. I don't know if it's really pertaining to them, but I feel like me growing up in two different type of school systems, from kindergarten, from daycare to 8th grade, I was more in a minority-based school. It was a private Catholic school, but it was literally all, you know, Blacks and Hispanics and some Asians. So like, to be honest, the Caucasian group wasn't very big in my middle school, elementary school era. Then when I go to high school, it's a predominantly white school. The Black Americans are the minority, if that. Like, it's a very, very small percentage. So what I'm trying to say is that I feel like I've always gotten pushback from a lot of Black Americans by just how we perceive ourselves, because West Africans, they come to this country to work, they come to this country to get education, and I think that whole vendetta against wanting better for yourself has rubbed the wrong way for Black Americans. You know, I feel like I've always gotten teased on how I speak. I've been told that I speak like a white girl and stuff like that, or I've been told I dress like a white girl, or if I only want to hang out with I've been told everything.
Your words, you know,
and I feel like we need to stop that. We need to stop the whole, if you want to read books, if you want to learn more, if you're into like sciences and arts, that is not perceived as one way.
And I think, like, okay, we look at African American and way we present, like, Ebonics, the way we communicate, you know, just the way we communicate, right? And
we can get into code switching too.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, with code switching and all that, you know, and like a dialect of forum, you know, it goes back to, kind of goes back to slavery. But in a sense, you know, like the way you enunciate your words, you know what I mean, doesn't particularly mean that you're less intelligent just so you speak Ebonics, you know what I mean, because of your culture, even within our subcultures here, you know, and it's perceived as being less, and like that's been the notion, you know, it's subliminally that's the way it is. The further you are from traditional colonialism, the suit and tie, the white collar, you know, the further you are away from that spectrum, you know, on that scale, the more you're perceived as being unintelligent, uneducated, unread, you know what I mean, incapable, you know, and that's it's a rhetoric that we kind of like we've followed for so long, you know, but like, oh yeah, we're good at entertaining, we're good at this, that, and the third, you know, from being in our demographic, people don't look at it that way, you know. So when they see somebody like us, black people, when they look at a certain individual who might be more Ebonics heavy in their verbiage, you know, they look at somebody that's a little bit more, they enunciate words a little bit more, you know what I mean, they may be a little bit well read. It's like, man, they get like they're intimidated by
they're very intimidated,
and you think like, oh, you think you're better than me because of the way you're speaking. That's why they speak, you know,
where I speak,
and you're kind of ostracized for that, and that's something.
It's a privilege for us as well-rounded Black Americans to be in a room regardless of race and be able to hold a conversation. You know, I feel like we need to understand that that's a blessing. That's
the way we communicate. It comes down to communication.
And if I can get my point across to you how I am, and you can understand it, I feel like that is a real good thing.
But the thing is, like, what a lot of people do perceive, especially from us, right? Especially from our standpoint, because my parents were against it. We grew up in a predominantly like African American, a lot of minorities in our area, right? But like, if I came home, like my dad was so strict, you know what I mean, when it came to that, like we do not want to promote African American culture in my house. That's what it was, you know? Yeah. There was no, you're not speaking Ebonics. When I was with my friends, yeah, we did that. When I came home, it's a different dialect. Yeah. It's a different story, you know what I mean? You can get away with that stuff when you're around your friends, but when you're like in public, my parents kept that standard because they understood like what the struggle is to get to this country. Because they grew up in a colonial system too. So they grew up in a West African culture. So we're first generation in this country, right? And they see like a lot of like how it's promoted in their country. Like, wow, like African Americans, oh, we're just criminals. Like, it's basically that's the rhetoric they're getting, you know? And it's kind of backwards. We can go into that a little bit deeper. Go into that a little bit deeper as time goes on. But like that really wasn't allowed, and like the well-read, the more you enunciate your words, it's a class thing. That means you had more prestige, you know.
But it was more of a threat to the Black Americans that were here. They're like, here already. Like, okay, so what makes you think that you're gonna come over here, talk like this, and then take the job or whatever it may be. What I'm saying is that I feel like colonization has a part in Ebonics, has a part in how we perceive ourselves, has a part in fashion, like the sagging pants, the like. I'm trying to not offend anybody, but what I say is that when we give the answer already to what they're already assuming without even explaining ourselves, without even vouching for ourselves, makes it even worse. The cycle just continues to grow. The broken households, the I don't care how I come out the house, you know, like sagging pants, you know, the yelling, the cursing, the, you know, incorrect grammar, that all plays a role on how we are perceived as a community.
And honestly, in West African culture, that's not what we're about.
And that's not what we're about. So that's why always a difference.
That's how racism, because it's kind of like how racism and all this, like, if you want to get into it, eugenics, that's how that starts, you know? It was a small seed that was planted. It's an ideology that was made to make you look primal, you know what I mean? And it's been promoted here as like it's a propaganda. I feel like it was all a propaganda that like evolved over time, and where we're paying people now to the point where, so like society, where the society ladder is, there's people in high places. We're paying people to sort of promote that type of culture, and that's not what we're about. We're more capable than that, you know. And I feel like that's where the disparity kind of comes. You know? That's why other cultures perceive us. End of the day, you know, like we like across all the races, African, like the black culture is the most detrimental ever, and we need to get back into our own, get back into a huddle, and sort of recollab on that.
I think also that we have to understand that even though we're the most self-destructive, we're the most admired too. Like there's a lot of Asian communities that really, really love black culture, and you see Koreans dancing Afrobeats, you see Japanese dancing Afrobeats, you see Koreans doing hip hop and rap, you see it all. So yes, we are self-destructive, but we are still most admired. We're the most copied, like, you know, especially with fashion and arts and stuff. We are the most copied. We are. But I just feel like if we see that light in ourselves, we could do so much more than pointing the finger within our community and being as divisive, you know. If we stand as a unit, we stand as a solid front. And
we're not saying, okay, there's a lot of differences.
There is a lot of differences.
But I don't think, like a lot of the what popular culture likes to sort of base their rhetoric engage in today is our own destruction against one another. Like what sells more, you know? Like this clickbait. Or even when you look at clickbait, we love to see one of our own being even though they could be wrong or whatever, you know, but why is that so highlighted? Nothing gets more views. For example, this Diddy scandal, you know what I mean? We want to see this man getting crucified, wrong or not, you know what I mean? You know, of his convictions or whatever it may be, you know, or his alleged his alleged offenses, right? We cannot we need to stop doing that. We need to kind of close off a lot of these dark rhetorics and just collectively let's have our debates. Yes, we're gonna have our debates, but we need to do it more in a more civilized manner, you know, because if we can stand together on that, I feel like we can really achieve our goal, like bridging that gap. You know, it will change the world.
We'll change the world. I'm telling you, like.
You know, we can't it's like I know it's something that kind of attracts a lot of attention. A lot of that negativity does attract attention. It does. You know what I mean? It fills a lot but it fills the pockets of the wrong people. You know, we can invest that into our own growth and prosperity, as opposed to, okay, man, look at that scam. Look what he's doing wrong. Like, let's create. Like, look at all that creativity. Look how much talent we have in our pool. We have a lot more potential to do a lot more greater things. But it's just like you're letting the wrong people get rich. I'm not even going to say a certain demographic or whatever.
You're letting the wrong people get rich.
We're letting the wrong people get rich and let the wrong people get enough clout, living off of your clout. You know what I mean? And your destruction, and then you know, at your expense.
It's hard. It's hard to see that, and
it comes full circle. It comes full circle. You know? And in the West, it's become prevalent, like cultural barrier. You know, it's become prevalent. You know, that's how, like, a lot of these people become viral. A lot of these people will steep to. There's no standards.
Human decency.
Yeah. They will succumb to the lowest point of degeneracy to get views, likes, to be accepted by the community, and they get paid for it. People are getting rich off of this, you know? In any way, shape, or form, you know, like OnlyFans. These people are literally like this eating culture, like this weird, like being obese, being sick, doing these crazy things that are like unspoken in our culture, in our religion. Like in whatever shape or form, it's something that's being put on a pedestal, and it's sort of being worshipped. We're making a shift that's detrimental to our progress. You know, and we need to sort of awaken. Not woke culture. I'm not focusing on woke culture here. You know, because woke culture did nothing for us. I'll say it very bluntly. Woke culture did nothing for us. You know, but because you're woke doesn't mean you're awakened. You don't know what's going on. You know, you don't understand perspective when it comes to being woke. You know, it's just something that we put on there. Something that we sort of materialized as something like, oh yeah, this, we're not awakened. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on. You're only looking at things very one-sided, and it's creating more polarization than anything. You know what I mean? Because that's not how the world is really perceived. You know, and like you need to go out and look at the facts for yourself. Because I feel like the woke culture is sort of, it hindered our own, like it insulted our intelligence in a way, you know what I mean? It just gives you this perspective, you're given this propaganda, how can I get a reaction out of these people? Hurt ourselves at the end of the day. A lot of these communities that did this looting, and like this happened a few years ago, right? During COVID.
Yeah.
A lot of the communities that were affected were the black communities. You know? We went back into our own communities. You wouldn't go into like a lot of these, you know, a lot of these like upper middle class neighborhoods to try that. It was happening in a lot of like these lower class.
We never do that. We never do that. You know? We never do that.
It affects us, you know. So I feel like there is a shift when it comes to that awareness. You know,
yes.
It's something. I'm not saying anything that's not already known.
Yeah, no, we have made progress, but I really think there's a lot more work to be done.
Oh, absolutely. We need to be on the same page.
We need to be on the same page. These brands, these networks are not going to take us seriously if we can't take ourselves seriously. That's just the end of what we're trying to say.
And we need to be able to, but we need to be able to articulate to everybody so that everybody will comprehend it and not take offense,
guys, and not take offense. The video that we started, and we're trying to do this series of trying to bridge the gap in our Black communities. This is not to do tit for tat and say you're wrong and I'm right. That is not the point. The point is to group us as a united front so that we can change the world in the US and worldwide, globally. This is not to pin us higher than you guys. It's not to do any of that. It is to connect with one another, you know? And if we don't talk about these touchy subjects and, you know, underlying, you know, systematic racism that has happened in our communities, we will never move forward. So I really want us to like understand that as a whole.
And I believe that we have a lot of talent, we have a lot of intellect, but we don't get the respect from a lot of other demographics. The level that we should, because of this disparity. It looks dysfunctional.
It does look.
At the end of the day, we just look dysfunctional. Jeez. Whether it comes from one side or another, whatever class system you're in, you know. Yeah. And if we could bridge that gap, I feel like we'd be would gain that respect. You know what I mean? And that will just come naturally, you know. But it just comes with a level of awareness, self-awareness, and be able to sort of collectively fix where we come up short, you know, in certain areas, you know. And I feel like I think this is a good start. Be a step forward. Yeah, this is a good start to talk about it. We are open to all your comments. Please make sure they're positive, knowledgeable, educational comments. We really want to learn from you guys. I don't want this to be a bashing session. This is not what my channel is about. It's about honestly and have your disagreements.
Positivity,
and you can have your disagreements
and constructive criticism, and we like that. But you know, let's just keep it very, you know, very mature and have engageful, you know, content in these comments. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you loveys later. Bye.
There we go.